At least I think overall it's fair in the way that it deals with criminals. The sentencing I have a big problem with, but the way that we as human beings inside the UK do it, I think is overall fair. So this is the structure of how we in the UK function. When a crime is committed, clearly there is suspicion. The police then go out and investigate and collect evidence, and only if there's sufficient evidence do they arrest and charge somebody. And all of us have the right to silence. We have the right to silence to protect ourselves from incriminating ourselves, a very important check and balance in our system. And the other thing that we have is the ultimate deterrent. I don't know if anybody knows what habeas corpus is, but habeas corpus is the ultimate deterrent, which is that the legal system can say to the state, you have to turn this person, either charge this person or let them go. It is the last protection we have, that the state cannot hold us indefinitely, that we have the right to be let go if they cannot come up with the evidence. Under the new legal system, all of our current system is replaced by something called corpus juris. Corpus juris is a Napoleonic-based code which originally came from Rome. You can trace it by that. And it goes like this. You have suspicion that somebody's committed a crime and you arrest them. No gathering evidence before you arrest them. You arrest them. You then appoint a magistrate who can try them. And when the prosecutor's case is ready, they are charged. Now just think about it. The whole issue of the fact that you can be held without your lawyers having access to evidence because they do not know what you're going to be charged with. Sometimes, not every time, but sometimes. And they can only then get to work when you're formally charged. Do you think this is a right way to go about things? But this is the system that is going to be imposed on us. There is no right to silence, and neither in this new system, neither is there a right to a trial by an independent jury. These are all not actually implemented yet, but they are being implemented. I'll summarise this at the end for one important reason. They are all in the Lisbon Treaty, and they all will be implemented. Okay. Right, regionalisation of Europe. The EU does not want England to exist. They fear England, particularly, as someone who can be a thorn in the side of the EU. And they are solving it in a classic way, which they're going to break up the United Kingdom into 6 different regions and allocate them to different parts of Europe. So we will merely become a region of Europe not aligned with our fellow English people or our fellow Britons. And South England is being aligned with something called Transmanche. So here we will become the Transmanche region. And the whole point of this is that all the allocation of funding will be channeled through Transmanche, the government of Transmanche. Parish, borough and county council boundaries will be abolished. They won't exist. We won't be Surrey. We will be Transmanche. And the regional assemblies are not going to be elected. They will be appointed. The EU power extends its reach. The European Armed Service has been set up in principle. The UK Armed Services will be phased out as standalone environments. Nuclear arms will be handed over to the European Union. The UK military communications are already integrated. And inevitably, I say inevitably, but just purely from the influence of France, we will start to sever our relationships with the United States, which I suggest has been the cornerstone of peace in Europe for the last 45, 50 years. And it frustrates me that every time I hear some of these people talk about the EU to us guaranteed peace in Europe is a load of rubbish. Did they guarantee peace in the Balkans? They certainly did not. only people that have restrained Europe from self-destruct is NATO, and the huge presence of American forces combined with British forces throughout Europe. Okay, so let's go towards a little bit of finalising this. My contention is the EU is not fit for purpose. It costs us a fortune, £10,800 million a year this year. And by 2013-14 financial year, it'll be £13,400 million per year of your money that goes out. My contention is, if you want to join a club and you pay some money to join that club, you get some benefit back, don't you? Fair and reasonable. You don't get much back from the EU. It is ruinous to our business competitiveness. Over 10,000 new rules have been introduced since we joined the EU, since 1992. 10,000 new rules on business. Here's another lie. The coalition said 3 months after they were elected, we're going to take away all the red tape. It's all going to go. And then they signed up to Harriet Harman's paternity bill to make it even more difficult to run a business. And then they introduced their own red tape. And of course the thing that they forgot to tell us is they can't get rid of red tape because it's generated by the EU. And we're signed up to that treaty. Another lie. Well, I digress. This is an interesting thing. I listened to a programme about a year ago, and there was a so-called informed debate about whether the euro had caused the crisis within the EU. And there was an economist on this programme, had a French name but was English. And he stood there calmly saying, the crisis has nothing to do with the euro, nothing to do with it whatsoever. It's a wonderful thing to have done. We should have signed up to it. And I thought, even the most basic person with basic economics realises that can't be true in entirety. So I thought, well, I know what I'll do. I'll Google this man's name and find out who he is. I found out, of course it hadn't been mentioned by the BBC, that he had been paid by the EU for a period of time in the formulation of the euro. Ever since then, any time anybody is on the news programmes, I Google their name. It drives my wife mad. But I Google their name to find out their background. Because if they have been paid by the EU, they cannot deliver an unbiased opinion. Why? Because if they have been paid, their future pension plan can be taken away. So Windbag Kinnock, you couldn't possibly take anything he says seriously because his pension depends on it, and his wife's pension depends on it, and his myriad of relations he seems to be working for the EU depend on it. So I would ask all of you, anytime anyone delivers anything about the EU, Google their name and find out if they are truly unbiased and truly delivering a message that you can actually count with some form of trust. It talks about endless, irrelevant rules and regulations. They are going to eliminate our national identity by the regionalisation. I contend they are totally undemocratic. And I hope that as I've taken you through the way the EU functions, you will have seen how undemocratic that is. One small thing, does anybody here have a patio heater? I love my patio heater. It allows me to sit out in the evening and enjoy the countryside. Those are going to be illegal from next year because some committee in the EU has decided that they produce too much carbon. Therefore, they're going to eliminate them. Did you also know that you'll be forced to drive with your headlights on? That also is an EU regulation coming out, I think it's 2013. Now, those things are kind of strange. One is talks about, we're going to save the planet by eliminating carbon because you're doing your patio heater. But the fact is that running with dipped headlights all the time, costs endless amounts of energy because it takes it to the car. All parts of the EU. It is fundamentally and absolutely corrupt. For the last 15 years, they have been unable to sign off the accounts because there's a few billion missing. 3,000 to 4,000 million pounds go missing and they can't account for it. Well, that's okay. It's only other people's money. Why do we have to worry? It's corrupt. People thieve from it. They do all kinds of strange things with it. It's a corrupt institution. More importantly, it's dangerous for our freedom. The fact that they can enter our homes, tap our emails, our telephone conversations, and do everything they can to throw us in a foreign jail without reference to our family in the future means that it's dangerous for our freedom. There are parallels with the EU becoming a police state. If they do pass this legislation, which I truly believe is in there, there are so many rules about it, that you cannot criticise the EU and you can be had up in front of the court of law for criticising. That is the most fundamental loss of freedom you could ever imagine. You can't criticise the state. North Korea, here we go. Okay, just go back. Okay. I won't talk about diplomat. Everybody's heard about Baroness Ashton, the incompetent woman that's never been elected and spends millions and millions of money. What is it? I think Tonga has 54 of her appointees in Tonga on behalf of the European diplomatic service. 54. Okay. This is a structure map obtained from the EU which shows about how we are aligned. And I talked about Transmanche. Here's the little Transmanche region, and here's southern England, and the various others, Atlantic, Hibernian. They are going to break us up. We'll be gone. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with one last thing. This is a date that will live in infamy. Maybe some of you haven't heard this date. It is the most fundamental date you should bear in mind. More important than your wife's birthday, sorry darling. More important than your anniversary. More important than the birthdays of your children. This is the date where we will finally lose our democracy. The reason is very simple. In true EU fashion, you don't have to worry, we're just making some adjustments to make the EU easier to manage. And so they've put something in called QMV, Qualified Majority Voting. Sounds innocuous, doesn't it? Oh, we're just making it easier to make decisions. And by November 1, QMV will be implemented, and it will mean that there's a simple majority of 55%, and the percentage is decided according to the population, 55%, and they can pass any changes that they want, any laws they want. So, when David Cameron says, "I've defended Great Britain, I've vetoed the attack on the city," he is a liar. There is no way, if we remain within the current structure of the EU, he can defend that position over time. So November 1st, QMV is implemented, and we will lose our democracy. Just to show you, these are some of the other areas that will be implemented that are not yet fully implemented on that date. And you can see in there criminal law, criminal judicial system, crime prevention, energy, EU budgets, Eurojust. That is the date where we will lose our country. So, I've taken you through this journey. I probably speak with more passion than you expected, but I am very passionate about this issue because we went through, our nation has been formed through thousands of years of history, through immigration, conquest, and I believe that we are a country that is a phenomenal place to be. Every single wave of people that have come in have added to our democracy, have added to the richness of our society, and I'm damned if I'm going to ever apologise for some of the mistakes we may have made. Because overall, our country has delivered incredible scientific achievements, incredible progress in democratic situations such as racial equality, such as slavery and so on. In virtually every single area, we have punched above our weight as a country. And I'm damn proud of that. And perhaps some of you are as well. I don't want to see our country being part of transmart ever. I have no pride in that. And I don't think any of you will either. So, I've finished. Thank you very much. If anybody would like to ask questions, I'll be